I'm here.
Hello, book lovers, and welcome to Book Talk Radio Club. My name is Claire Perkins, and today I'm talking to Baron Deschauer. Baron is the author of a number of books in genres as different as self-help to political thrillers. Hi, Baron. Thank you for coming back on Book Talk Radio Club.
Hi, Carolyn. Thanks for having me.
The last time we talked, you just published Concentration Camps of Canada. How has the book been received?
Concentration Camps of Canada has been well received by critics, but I've yet to figure out how to convert this into sales of any magnitude.
Right. That would be helpful. Would you like to tell Book Talk Radio Club listeners about Concentration Camps of Canada?
Of course, Concentration Camps of Canada is a story about Canada's forced assimilation of its Indigenous peoples through the eyes of a little boy who grows up ignorant of anything other than his own reality from 1918 to 1960s. I wanted people to be shown rather than told about the realities of children growing up in these residential schools and within a system that sees them as little more than an inconvenient remnant of an historical struggle. I follow my main character from childhood through to adulthood.
So what made you decide to write about such a controversial subject?
My brother and co-author became good friends with the chief in the nearby reserve. He spent a lot of time talking with members of the community. He had also had a lot of dealings with the First Nations for decades previously.
Right.
It was only at this relatively recent point where the scales fell from his eyes and he could see as if for the first time. My Damascus moment came almost a year after discussions with him. When that moment arrived, it wasn't a matter of whether we should write this book, it was a matter of when.
Right. Interesting. So the story is told as seen through the eyes of Migizi. Can you tell Book Talk Radio Club listeners a little bit about him?
We first meet Migizi when he's just a boy. He's one of us who just wants to find a friend, have fun, and live life. He finds a friend on the first day of school. He learns to have fun and live. Overlaying his life, we see the impact of Canada's policies. We see the impact of what it means not to know or understand the concept of ownership. We feel the consequences of not being allowed to speak one's own language. We try to understand what it means to not allow to practice one's own religion. What the forefathers of Canada fought for was systematically denied to the Indigenous of Canada. Canada's sorry. Can I carry on?
Yes, of course, carry on.
Sorry. Canada's Parliament passed laws with the explicit aim of taking the Indian out of the Indian. Migizi, as a character, is an amalgam of historical characters taken from Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission, as well as an amazing true person in the form of Tommy Prince. I took stories from Migizi's wartime service directly from the history of Tommy Prince. Tommy Prince, like Migizi, is awarded the highest medals for bravery and distinction from both the Canadian and United States military. For me, the hardest part was watching what happened to Migizi after he returned from war. Abroad, at war, he was treated as a man. In Canada, he was treated as just another dirty Indian.
That's awful. And yet he served his country.
Absolutely heart-wrenching. Yeah.
I don't understand how people can treat other people like that just because they're different, but there we go. So you co-wrote the book with your brother Lucky. What was the writing process in this joint effort?
Lucky was the inspiration behind this book. It would never have happened without him. He provided many of the stories and background that was woven into the book. We would discuss things over Skype, and then I would retreat into my cave and wait for my muse to visit. I would give him a copy of the work, and we would edit, modify, and improve until we were happy with it. While I did a lot of the writing element, I realized that a book is not just about the writing. Lucky provided this in spades.
Right. So you work together. I can't imagine writing with someone else. But do you think if it wasn't your brother, you'd be able to write with someone else, or it's because it's your brother you could do it?
It's because of my brother that I was able to have the total trust in what he was telling me was the reaction that he had with the people and with the community. And I think I could work with another person if I trusted them, if I believed in them, and I respected them. I think those are the fundamental tenets for any relationship, but definitely for writing.
In your quest to better understand the world around you, you've written and published a number of books exploring existence, Revelation of Faust, Capital, Art of Wealth, and the complex interplay of will, luck, fate, and hope, the Man on the Run series. Which did you find more enjoyable to write and why?
I enjoyed Revelation the most because it was my first, literally. It was a dark and stormy night, the first week of January 2015. I was in Guernsey at the time. I woke in the middle of the night with the overwhelming sense of an understanding. I decided that I would put in writing what was in my head. It's not a novel, and it barely classifies as a self-help book.
Uh-huh.
It is a book of answers for those who are seeking. It also represented the beginning of a 10-book burst of creativity.
Yeah, I must admit, when I wrote my first book, I suddenly woke up and thought, I've got to put this down on paper, but in the middle of the night.
It is that moment. It is almost like Luther in the storm making a promise to God. I'm going to hold this. I'm going to staple. I'm going to nail on the thesis onto the door of Wittenberg or whatever it was. And it just really, really a powerful, religious, very personal, passionate moment. I loved it. It was very exciting for me.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you don't do it, it's almost like someone keep pushing you in your back. Get on with it, get on with it, get on with it. It has to come out.
It took 25 years of me having this moment, almost having this moment, and then finally I grasped it and it changed my life.
25 years? Wow.
Yeah.
The Man on the Run series is fiction, but in what genre is the series classified, and what type of reader are they aimed at?
Man on the Run is a 6-book series that sits in the thriller genre.
Mhm.
Subgenres are historical fiction and political thriller. I aim it at people who enjoy history without the history lessons. My
Uh-huh.
characters are full on, and I'm not nostalgic with any of them. The period spans from the late 19th century to the present day. I explore power, money, and politics as characters find themselves living through periods of great prosperity, austerity, and depravity. In a way, it is similar to Forrest Gump's life. He invested his money in a fruit company, i.e. Apple,
Mhm.
called in the intruders at the Watergate Hotel, leading to Nixon's departure, met with JFK, and participated in everything from popular culture, the ubiquitous yellow, happy, smiling face, to the Vietnam War,
Yeah.
to the hippie movement, etc. Man on the Run is not tongue-in-cheek, but its characters brush up against the most powerful men and women of history of the last century.
In your book, The Art of Wealth explores the ability to become wealthy, and you yourself believe in order to do so requires a certain mindset. Actually, I have to agree with you there. Can you explain that mindset, please?
We're all constrained by these invisible chains.
Hmm.
This could be cultural in the form of how we interact with the authority and elders. We may have grown up in a working class environment where dreaming is frowned upon. If you look at Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad, it's an example of having a certain mindset. For me, it's about applying fairly cast iron principles of money management with the willingness to overcome mental and social hurdles set in place. This book is about recognizing the barriers so that they can be overcome.
Yeah.
I don't want people to make money. I want them to accumulate wealth. It's the difference between being given a fish and knowing how to fish.
It's a good analogy, definitely. And I know from our emails that you said the next book you write should appeal to critics and a wide audience, and yet there's a school of thought that says authors should write for themselves. To you, what is commercially guaranteed success in the publishing world?
I'll start for the first one. I'm a school of thought that says authors should write for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
All of my books are written for myself. They represent 25 years of pent-up need to write. The main reason I published was to provide an end goal to force me to finish the work. In the past, I've started many works of poetry and a few novellas, only to put it aside, never to pick it up again. The downside of publishing works written for yourself is that they rarely sell. I console myself by saying that I have not made any great effort in marketing the books. However, I'm still human, and there is a competitive side to me that would like to be liked. As a result, I would like to take a stab at writing a commercially successful book. I don't believe there's any such thing as a guaranteed commercial success, whether in books, poetry, or medicine. We can do our best, and the rest is up to the public. From what I understand, a lot of success can be mitigated by having a sufficiently large budget. However, no amount of budget or money will overcome a poorly written book.
Absolutely.
Being cynical, romance is the most read genre in the market. I'm not a natural romance writer, so I've gone with romance thriller, hoping to build on my experiences from my other writing. I have a manuscript, but I don't have a product yet the market will take up. I need help. I think I'm 80% there. Watch this space.
It's said that in order to write interesting books, one has to lead an adventurous life. From reading your bio, you went through basic training with the Canadian Reserves, entered a monastery, and slept on the sides of roads while hitchhiking through Europe. Have you included any of your experiences in your books?
Almost everything that is in my books is based on historical fact or first-hand knowledge. I've met my share of villains, business people, dreamers, and dropouts. Locations such as Bariloche and Buenos Aires in Argentina, and the people I met are woven into my most recent novel. Johannesburg and Durban, South Africa, are woven into Volume 6 of Man of the Run. The storyline of human trafficking in Volume 5 of Man of the Run came from experiences and people I met when hitchhiking, as well as the villains I've come across in London in the last 10 years.
Right.
Suffice it to say, while the writing is not autobiographical, almost everything is the direct result of experience I've had. Any fault in how it comes across, of course, is wholly mine.
You can also order food, look for a toilet, and find directions in German, Mandarin, French, and Hebrew. Very impressive. I can just about manage to ask in French where the Ladies' Loo is situated. Would you consider having concentration camps of Canada translated in other languages to reach a wider audience?
I probably have to backtrack a bit of my language ability. I learned intermediate German 30 years ago and Mandarin 25 years ago. I'd probably be reduced to hand signals in either language now. In terms of translating any of my books, I am of two minds. When I started, I found a great website called babblecube.com. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it.
Sure.
It
You've
allows
said it.
translators. Oh yeah, sorry. Sorry about that. It allows translators to translate books into other languages. It is also free, with the only price being a shared royalty scheme to allow a translator a chance to earn back their costs. The only problem with that is that I have no idea about the quality of translation, so editing and proofreading is difficult.
Yeah.
That being said, I have found a site that translates into Mandarin. Do you want me to tell you the site?
Sure. I've got other authors listening, so absolutely.
Sure. Yeah, fiberread.com. It's fiberead.com. I have submitted all of my books to be translated into Mandarin. Many of my books have been translated into Portuguese, Italian, and French. I put the brake on this until I see where things are going, especially with concentration camps.
So where can Book Talk Radio Club listeners purchase your books?
All of my books can be found in Audible, e-format, and print on all the major outlets. I guess Amazon's probably the easiest. Not published on Amazon, but it is distributed by Amazon and everywhere else.
Lovely. And where can Book Talk... Oh, sorry, I just asked you that. Okay, thank you, Baron. Please come back on Book Talk Radio Club. I'd love to chat with you and hear more. In the meantime, good luck for the future. And thank you, everyone, for listening to Book Talk Radio Club. Thank you, Baron.
Thank you, Claire.